Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been at least well over a month since I've been done one of these kind of like talk shows or whatever. Um, 2026 has definitely been an interesting year so far. It's about March 6th today, so already about 2 months in. And I don't know, just kind of want to talk about my life and some things that have been going on with me because I kind of want to be like I need to be more of a content creator. Like I've kind of like I've made videos on the internet. I've gotten in trouble for it, but I enjoy doing it. I have some people that say they like watching the things that I make, but I've never really decided to take it seriously. And I've never really tried to, seriously like monetize from it. Hang on, I'm going to change the angle of this. Yeah, maybe that looks a little bit better. Yeah, so it's about March 6th in 2026. I'm going to be keep it real with you. It's been a rough year. It's been extremely difficult. Firstly, I don't want to sound like a doomer here, but like I had I had like personal investments. So like say for example, I had savings, right? I don't know, just say theoretically it was like 50, $60,000. And like Bitcoin has had a drawdown, the S&P has had a drawdown. Um, some of my trading algorithms that I use have had a drawdown. And then like I got liquidated on one of my funded accounts that I was trading with, and it was like the last week of January. I was down like 10 grand, like just with like investments or whatnot. So that's been really like bugging me out, right? Because it's difficult. It's a difficult game because if you're a young guy and like you have excess cash, like what's the best thing to like actually buy, right? Because like if you buy Bitcoin, like Bitcoin could have a 30% drawdown in a month. You can buy the S&P or you buy a CD. You're barely beating inflation, right? You can buy high ticket offers or coaching programs from other entrepreneurs, and you might be able to learn something. But there's no direct turnaround. For example, for buying a $5,000 like program to get a mentorship program or whatever, there's no really direct turnaround on that. So anyway, like I'm down literally thousands of dollars so far this year in like personal investments or whatnot. So that's been extremely disappointing. And also, a lot of people that know me, I was in a paramedic class because I've been like an emergency medical technician for like 3 years, ever since I was in high school. Because like the whole, like, I've been going to university to be a doctor. Like I've been very vocal about this to a lot of people that I know. Like I'm going to university to be a doctor, and I'm working on ambulances, and I've had like various other medical jobs over the past like really 3 years or so. And for the past year, I was in a trade class to become a paramedic. And really, for the past 6 months, I did hundreds of clinical hours. I had hundreds of clinical hours between a bunch of different hospitals and EMS agencies, and I learned a lot. I got very good at learning how to start IVs. I memorized hundreds of drug cards. I learned how to read 12 leads. I became a very competent medical provider. I was doing really well. Well, anyway, also going back to the social media stuff is, for really the past 2 years of my life, I've been very vocal on the internet. I've been very political at times. Like I've been a troll. And me personally, I know that I listen to, or I have. I haven't been doing it lately ever since this situation happened. But I listen to like a lot of the right wing influencers online, like a lot of the streamers, like Tate, Nick Fuentes, and now recently there's this new guy called Clavicular, right? And like you listen to these guys, and they say whatever they want. Like they make jokes, they say whatever they want, and it doesn't matter to them, right? Because if they have a private income, right? Like if they, like they're already canceled on YouTube or Instagram, they're not working in, they're not working a job, right? But you, for example, if you're an average guy and you're watching a lot of this like political content, right? And you're working in like a public safety healthcare job, it's gonna slip over. So I got in a situation where, like a month ago, um, I got in like an argument online on Instagram with like some internet troll. And me, I'm a troll, bro. Like I like trolling people. Like I get it. Like it's funny, right? And anyway, I got in this argument with this one person. I thought it was a bot account. I legitimately didn't even think it was a real person because most accounts on the internet now like are fake. Like they're not even real accounts. So anyway, this like account that I thought was a bot account like started taking screenshots of like all my different posts and posting it on their story and like tagging me, basically making fun of me and like saying all these things that were kind of making me uncomfortable. So this account was like DMing me. So I just told them to literally, I said F off and die, and then I blocked the account. Right? That's a valid response, right? To someone on the internet who's harassing me, right? Like I don't think anyone says I'm in the wrong there, right? Like maybe perhaps it's not the most professional way to say like leave me alone or like stop talking or just like stop posting my stuff. But yeah, I told an internet troll that I thought was a bot to F off and die. Yeah, I get it. It might be taboo. Oh well. I did it. It's over with. So this person, whoever they are, looks me up on like LinkedIn or whatever and finds like student at this community college in a paramedic class. This person like literally like takes a screenshot. They find out where I go to school and they take a screenshot of the DM where I told them that and they sent it to my school and then they complained about saying like one of your students needs to like be taken accountable for and like watch what they say. So like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I get pulled out of class. And keep in mind, with this class that I'm in, I'm 20 years old. I have done hundreds of hours of medical training. I've passed all my exams. I'm clearly competent. I'm going to university. I'm trying to become a doctor. I've helped sick people. Like from my point of view, I'm like, God is going to give this to me. Like God is going to give this to me. I'm going to pass the class. I'm going to be a 20-year-old paramedic. I'm going to, get a part-time job as a paramedic. And between all my other income sources, by the end of this year, I'll be 21 years old. I'll be making 10 grand a month, and I can finish university, and everything will be great. That was what I was thinking. But it's funny because the world never quite works how we think it is. So I get pulled out of class, and my instructor, whatever, is like, "We got a complaint that you told someone to to go and die or whatever." And I was like, yeah, that's true. Because I'm not a coward. I'm not going to sit here and, lie and be like, oh, yeah, I'll give this fake. I'm not a coward. I take absolute accountability for everything I do. And I always have been. And you need to be a man that is able to do that. So anyway, they start talking. And they're like, well, like you're telling people to go and die. But also on your social media, you're publicly affiliated, like with the school. So we have made the decision to dismiss you from the course. So basically, I have to do the entire class all over again. That's the situation that I'm in. And to be honest, I wasn't upset's not the right word, right? Like I get it. And because for example, every county has like a medical director, right? Like, the medical director is the doctor that, writes the protocol books, I guess signs off on everything. And even like a college or like a medical college or, any community college, I guess that teaches like nursing or has a paramedic course, I guess has a medical doctor that, is in charge of the program, right? And even perhaps I was maybe hoping one day that I could be the medical director of a county one day. I mean, I don't think that's too out there to say. I mean, it's a long, difficult road. But, and I had the guy's phone number because, like one day we had to do like a shadowing day in the past where we got to shadow the medical director. And I shadowed him. Nice guy. So I got his phone number, right? Because I asked him for it. So as soon as this happened, I called him because I was very upset. I was just like, I just want to know, like, all right, I get, yes, I can't say that, but like, how does that correlate to like you having to like, not necessarily waste a year of my life? Because was it time wasted? Like, not necessarily, because like I learned it. I passed all of the exams. I did the clinical hours. All my preceptors gave me good feedback. I'm clearly competent. I'm clearly going to be able to succeed in a career in paramedicine if I want to. It's just the only problem is I'm just going to be, I have to enroll another trade class, right? And I'm going to be doing the exact same scenario testing, doing the exact same exams that I've already passed, mind you. So I know the game. I'm not incompetent. I got dropped for unprofessional behavior. So I was just like, I'm not even really upset. I'm just kind of inconvenienced because I know I'm going to go back and do it, right? I just might become a paramedic when I'm 22 instead of 20, right? Which obviously, kind of has messed with my life plans. And that was like 2 weeks ago. And, I've been kind of upset about that. And the thing is, like, I get it, right? Like, I get it. Like, you're in a public safety profession, right? Like, I get it. If you're a police officer, or you're a firefighter, or you work for an EMS agency, or you're a doctor and you work for a hospital, there are just certain things that you can't say. Like, you can't make racist jokes. You can't make sexist jokes. Like even recently in 2025, like you see a lot of memes about like Israel stuff and basically saying that there's a lot of Jewish influence in the Western world, right? And a lot of the right wing influencers, but like I told you, like I've been watching, like they joke about this stuff, right? So they joke about it, and I think it's understood that like these guys aren't to be taken seriously, right? But for example, like if you are a doctor and you work for a hospital, right? Like for example, like in Wake County, Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live, there's like Wake Med Hospital and there's UNC hospitals, which are like the two kind of biggest hospitals like in this area that have a lot of money. They're like chains of hospitals. So if you work for a hospital, right, and you want to have a professional career as a doctor, you can't be saying these things, right? So I've kind of hit a bind, right? Because, for really the past 2 years of my life, I'm watching a lot of this red pill content. I've engaged in making like red pill content, like I've gotten very political. I've made videos like this where I've been very vocal about, talking about what I think about political stuff, right? And it's just like, on the other hand, I'm kind of going into this career where, like I'm trying to, like be a business, like owner, healthcare guy, and it's just like, and another thing that I want to do is like, what I really want to do is like, I want to make a lot of content, about like medical training, about the things I'm learning in school. Cause like, I want to obviously monetize it. Like there's this guy, his name is a paramedic coach. He's like Evan, the paramedic coach. Right. And I watched a lot of his videos when I was in the paramedic class. Like I literally bought his cardiology program for like $150. It was like a 10-hour long course. And it taught me how to read like 12 leads. And it made it very easy for me. Right. So, and I kind of want to do something similar. Like I want to make medical content. I want to monetize it. And I want to be seen, as competent in my space. But what I've come to realize is like, bro, you can't be, like public influencer, wannabe politician, medical professional that everyone takes seriously, and at the same time, be an internet troll. You just can't do it. Like, I get it. So I'm just kind of like, trying to think like, all right, like what's the best way to approach this? Like, do I just stop making YouTube videos altogether and, just put my Instagram account on private and, just never post again a day in my life and, just never even stand the chance of like, like being a famous content creator or like monetize, but also having the peace of knowing that like, no one knows about my private life? Or it's just like, do you try to keep creating content, monitor yourself a little bit better and try to monetize it, which, like is definitely different than what I've been doing. Like, like a lot of the YouTube videos that I made, like, like all like curse and stuff, because, like I'm used to it, but now I've learned, right? Like I've learned in the hardest possible way that I can't do that. Like, like I'm trying to be CEO of Chase Parker Enterprises. Like I've talked about, bro, when I'm older, I'm saying I'm going to run for the governor of North Carolina. And, like I'm trying to go to med school. I can't be listening to, Nick Fuentes streams every single day. You just can't be doing it. So, because if you do, like, you're gonna be in these professional work settings, and like you're just gonna say things, and people are gonna be like, "No way, you just said that," right? But like you're only doing it because you're watching this content every single day, so it feels normal to you until it eventually comes and bites you in the butt, right? So like I don't know. I was talking to my parents about it, and they were just kind of like, "Yeah, like you're handling this really well." Like like a lot of people in my position, I'm gonna be honest, like they would have cried, they would have blamed everyone else. But I'm a man of my word. I'm not a coward. I mean, literally, like because of this, I have in no way decided that this is not going to be my career. Like I'm maybe perhaps a little bit inconvenienced, right? But I'm still going to go back and finish it. The only problem is like, all right, like I have 2 years to, try to figure out some other income streams, right? So I have a lot of things I've been thinking about. Obviously, I've been very busy into like my university coursework and whatnot. But it's just difficult. It's just difficult. Like I've kind of just taken two blows, my personal life back to back to back. Because like I lost some of my savings. Obviously, I got removed from this trade program or the trade school class that I really wanted to pass and I was really looking forward to. Oh, sorry, there's a alarm. Sorry, bros. I was taking a nap earlier because I stayed up all night like studying, so I had alarm set. What was I talking about? Talking about like coursework and trying to get busy with something else. And yeah, like I have a lot of things that have been on my mind. Like I'm trying to get a research job. Like I've been emailing a couple professors, and like I have a meeting like next Friday with the professor that does research, and I've just been doing cold outreach. Like I still have my e-commerce business that I'm working on. Like I was like messing around with trading algorithms, and I was making some consistent money with that. But obviously, like I got my account like liquidated like a month ago, so like I really don't want to, like put my extra money that I have to like try to pay my bills into this. Like I don't want to do that. And another thing that I've been really reflecting on and thinking about, and like a lot of guys will know this too, right? Because think about it, it's March of 2026. And I remember, in November of 2024. So this was about nearly a year and a half ago, about a year ago, right? Like I remember when Trump won the election, right? I was very vocal about it. I was very excited. I was like, yeah, like, Trump won the election. Like Bitcoin's going to the moon. America's back. The conservatives are in charge. Like they're going to deport a bunch of migrants. America's America again. And now it's a year later. And it's like, bro, like Trump literally can't get anything passed. Like he sends the ICE agents into Minneapolis, and then they try to burn the city down, and then he just gives up, and he withdraws ICE or whatever. It's just like nothing really gets done. Like nothing really gets done. Like Bitcoin is lower than the price that it is today after the election. Like no one's coming to save you. Right? And like really for the past year or 2 years of my life, I've been very, I've been really active and really paying attention about like a lot of things that have been happening in the world. Right? Like, like I made a video of me talking about the Ukraine war. I made a couple other videos about stuff or whatever. But I know I made one video about the Ukraine war, me like talking about what I thought it was. And me looking back at that, right? So I've been running my mouth on the internet for a long time. Like I deserve this. Like I'm not saying that, I don't deserve this, right? Right? So that's maybe perhaps why I'm not too upset about it, because I feel like partially I deserve it, right? But looking back at it, and a lot of guys fall into this trap too. Like we get, really like absorbed into things like especially like politics or really like sports. Like, I got really absorbed into like politics, right? So this was like a year and a half ago. I was just like, I'm really getting absorbed into politics. And me looking back at it, like, I guess I'll kind of say I was wrong, or maybe I was younger. I didn't really understand the world quite as well. I'm looking back at it, and if I could talk to my version of self a year ago, I'm just like, bro, like, you're not a big time influencer. You don't have a stream with hundreds of thousands of followers, people that consistently pay your bills. Like, you're just literally a 19-year-old dude. I was a year, and I'm a 20-year-old dude. You're a 20-year-old dude from Clayton, North Carolina. Everyone around you that you've ever grown up with are rednecks. Like, we're all poor, right? Like it's the country, right? Like, you're a 19, 20-year-old guy in school, working in the country. Like, you have bills to pay, you have, things in your life that you need to be focused on. Like, why are you worrying about what Trump is doing, right? Like, why do you care what's going on in like Iran and Israel? Like, I get it, like you want to be updated about things, but like, truthfully, bro, like, think of it like this. Like, there have been really times in my life where, over the past like year, 2 years, really, especially, where, like I had, something that I needed to work on, like an exam, or maybe perhaps I could have like gone to the gym, but like, you're busy like watching the news or watching a stream or like seeing what's going on in another area of the world. And it's just like, bro, like, it doesn't affect your life. Like, how do I say this? Like, and this is kind of what I've learned. It's like, bro, you are not Trump. You are not, or you were not someone like Charlie Kirk, rest in peace, where, you can make streams and you can talk about your political opinions and like, you're not going to lose your job, or you're not going to get in trouble in school. You as an average guy, like, if you're like me, you're a 20-year-old guy living in some town in the United States, and maybe you're just trying to pay your rent and maybe save a little bit. Like, it doesn't benefit your life in any way to get engaged, or like knowing about what's going on in the politics, or like just getting engaged in these online discussions. Like it's really just only going to, like, it doesn't benefit you in every way. It's taking time away from what you actually need to do. And truthfully, it doesn't benefit your life in every single way, right? Like, for example, like Andrew Tate, right? Like, he has a lot of money. He lives in Romania. He's away from the Western world. He's not employed by anyone, right? So yeah, he can be a Twitter troll, right? And it's funny. Like, it's objectively funny, yes. But you can't do that, bro. If you're like me, you're a 20-year-old guy in school. Yeah, maybe you're doing good for your age. Like, maybe you're handsome, or maybe you're working, or maybe you're studying really hard. Like, yeah, maybe you're objectively doing good for your age. Like, I'm not going to take that away from you. But truthfully, like, none of this stuff benefits your life in any way, right? So I don't know. It's like, do you just become withdrawn from things completely, right? Because, you're not allowed to, talk about religion or politics, certainly in a work setting. Certainly, you're not allowed to, express your political opinions in front of any of your patients. You just can't do that because you're treating everyone, right? Like, when you're on an EMS truck and you're going out to people's houses, like, you're treating everyone exactly the same. Like, whether it's a cardiac arrest of, a really right-wing conservative, or, someone who's a really left-wing liberal. Like, you have to treat every single patient by the exact same protocol book. So, you like if you're a guy and, you're really like keeping up to date on like politics, like news, what influencers are doing, like, bro, it really doesn't affect your life in any way. And honestly, I would like to argue it's probably even better that you don't even know about this stuff. Because, like, you'll be in situations where, like, you'll have patients or coworkers ask you, like, what do you think about this war? Or what do you think about this? Or, like, what do you think about this politician? And, like, it's honestly better for you to just not even know about it, right? Because if you're like me, where, you are keeping up with this stuff and you're being vocal about, like wars, and you think certain things are money laundering schemes, and and like you're talking about your opinions online, and like you go to school or you work a job and something slips out, you're going to get fired, right? And it's unfortunately, this is what's scary about it, because I'm a 20-year-old dude. Like, I'm single. I don't have anyone that really like depends on me. Like, I don't have kids. Like I don't really have that many liabilities. But like if I was a 40-year-old man, and I had like a wife and like 3 kids, and then like I lost my job because of something I said on the internet, like making an internet joke, like that would be detrimental. Like that would be terrible, right? And unfortunately, it happens to people every single day. It really does. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. So I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking like how do I do this? Like I kind of want to like be like a streamer. I want to make a lot of educational content. I mean, certainly you need to be making content if you want to have a business. You need to be talking about your offer and like monetizing it. But it's like, how do you do this in a way where you're going to be streaming for say 2 or 3 hours every single day, and you're not going to accidentally say something that's going to offend someone? It's a very difficult game. So that's why I'm saying, like, is the answer perhaps just to disappear and never post on the internet again, like like most people do, right? Never try to be a content creator, never try to get rich, like with a business or whatever. It's difficult, right? And another thing that I've been thinking is, so I'm a 20-year-old guy, right? And I'm single, right? Right? And obviously, like, you're a guy, like, I feel like we deep down, like, we all want to be in a relationship, right? Like, like whether or not, like, how busy we say we are, like, if you're a guy, even if you're really busy, like you're working, you're going to the gym today, like you're going to the gym every day, like you're working, you're in school, you're getting your money up, like you might not be in a grind period of your life. Like, if your ideal, like, perfect woman, like, came and talked to you or messaged you right now, like, you would still find a time to go on a date with her. Like, you would, right? So I feel like deep down, like, we all kind of want to be in a relationship, right? Like maybe if you're just like a kind of guy where, like, you had a girlfriend for like a couple of years, or maybe you had like a really bad breakup, then yeah, you might want to be single for a little bit. But I feel like deep down, like, most guys like want to be in a relationship, right? And like the game is extremely difficult, right? And maybe perhaps what I'm about to talk about here maybe goes along the lines of things I shouldn't talk about, right? As I've discussed earlier, but it's just like, if you look at the statistics, right? It's 2/3 of men age 18 to 25 are single, right? So the average, like, young man, like 18 to 25, is single, right? Well, but 2/3, of women age 18 to 25 are in relationships, right? And this has to do partially because, like, a lot of, like, women will date older guys. And, like, a lot of things that I've said on the internet, like, this has a lot to do with, like, red pill culture, right? Which I've been very vocal about, right? And I've made videos talking about, and I probably don't need to get into now, but, like, it's like the red pill is basically the idea that, like, you have 80% of women that are attracted to 20% of men, right? And the idea that, like, women, like, tend to date up. They tend to date men that, have perceived, like, more status and more money than them. Like, women don't usually, won't settle for a guy. They're like, well, that's kind of the whole idea of, like, the red pill. And, I'm not going to get too much into my opinions now, but I mean, it's kind of true, because it's like, if you're an average 19, 20-year-old guy, right? And I mean, I would even like to believe that I'm one of the more fortunate ones. Like, I work, like, I have some savings, like, I have a car, like, I have some interesting stories about my life, like, but if you're an average 19, 20-year-old dude, like, like, maybe you're out of shape, like, you don't have any money, like, you're not really ambitious, like, you don't really know what you're going to want to do with your life, and you're still living at home with your parents, and, like, you're not, like, making content, you're not even, like, trying to be on social media in a place where you can, like, even meet women online. And if you're, like, just a really an antisocial guy, you're not, like, going out and cold approaching, like, girls or women, like, you're just not doing that. Like, it's very difficult for you to get it's nearly impossible for you to get a relationship. But that's the reality for the average like 19, 20-year-old guy, right? So you kind of have this, you know, real thing where it's like you'll have women that are 19 years old that will date guys that, you know, they're slightly older than them, like 22, right? That maybe, you know, like have graduated, you know, like have their own place, have a car, or a bit in a bit of position. But if you're an 18-year-old guy, you know, you're trying to date, you know, like the same 19-year-old women that are dating guys that are 22 and 23, right? Because I've lived this firsthand. Because, you know, I was one of the younger people in like my high school class. Like I graduated high school when I was 17, and you know, like with how my birthday works, like every single year I was in school, like I was 17. Most of my friends were already 18. Like my freshman year of university, like I was 18 the entire school year. And a lot of people turn 19, you know, like during the school year, they turn 19 at the beginning of the school year. But my birthday's in July. So I'm like, you know, at least a good, you know, 6 to 12 months younger than, you know, the average person that I go to school with, right? So I remember my freshman year in university, like I'm 18 years old, and you know, like the same women that are in my grade are like 19 years old, right? And these women, like I've seen some of them, like they're dating guys that are like 25, right? And it happens more commonly than you think. And like I'm not like I know there's data that literally backs it up, but I've seen this like, you know, with my own eyes. Like if you're a young guy, it's extremely difficult for you to, you know, like get a relationship. Like it is definitely not easy. Because for example, like I told you 2 years ago, I was 18, I was a freshman in university. Like I was like in a dorm environment. So, you know, like I would like see girls in my dorm. Like I would go to the dining hall, and I was very vocal. Like I would do these things called like cold approaches, where I would just walk up to girls I thought were attractive, and I would just compliment them and start talking to them. And I did that nearly every single day. And over the course of like a year, like yeah, I got a lot of phone numbers. I went on like a couple dates. Like, you know, like my dating life objectively wasn't boring for the average 18, 19-year-old guy. But, you know, as I've told you, you know, pretty much for the past like 6 months or so, you know, I've been really busy, you know, with that. Well, I was busy with that paramedic class. You know, I was doing all these clinical hours. I'm working a full time job. You know, like I'm, you know, kind of living by myself. So, you know, I'm here most of the time doing coursework. If I'm not here, you know, like I maybe go to some of my courses and I'm on campus for a few hours. But, you know, like I don't have, you know, like the time or even the necessary logistics to, you know, like walk around the gym or walk around the dining hall and like cold approach and start talking to, you know, like 5 to 10 girls a day or women a day, like I did, you know, in that scenario, right? And, you know, like I would like to believe that I'm probably one of the more better ones. Like I'm objectively, I'm not the best looking dude in the world, but objectively, like I'm not ugly, like, you know, like I'm not out of shape, like, you know, like even the last girl that I dated, she told me that like you're not a creepy guy. Like a lot of these dudes that a lot of these younger guys that, you know, like really are kind of inexperienced with women that, you know, like haven't done a lot of this cold approach training or haven't really dated, you know, a lot in the past. Like they don't really understand women that well. So, you know, like they're like really creepy when they approach a girl, or they don't really know like when to, you know, like back off, or like just leave a girl alone. I mean, like I've got a lot of experiences, so like I've kind of learned a lot about, you know, like just like female psychology and like how they think and all that. But, you know, so like I would like to believe that I'm objectively like I'm probably above the 50th percentile of men for my age, at least above 50th percentile objectively, right? And even me in my position, like it's really difficult to get a serious relationship at this point in your life, because like you're working, you know, like you're working, you're going to school, you're not really putting yourself in these social scenarios to where you can meet women. Also at the same time, like um like meeting women online, it's not that it's difficult, but, you know, like for example, like even for example, like an app like Snapchat, right, or Instagram, like even on Snapchat or Instagram, if you maybe like use the quick add feature on Snapchat and you get 100 women your age to add you back, like yeah, some of them will like watch your stories, and some of them might not even text to you, but I might even like text you. But the probability of you just taking some random girl on like Snapchat quick add and turning it into like a real life like meetup where you like like actually go on like a date and hanging out is very, very low. Like I would even say, like, yeah, like if you maybe get 1,000 women in your Snapchat, you might literally find 1 to 2 women that would actually meet up in person with you. And a lot of that just has to do with like breaking the online barrier and just like trying not to be creepy because like she doesn't know you, right? Like you're just some random guy on the internet. Like obviously, like I understand, like she's scared of you. Like she's not just gonna come over to some random dude's house that she met on Snapchat. Like I completely get it, right? But it's extremely difficult, right? Because like I remember like 2 years ago, where like I was talking to a lot of women, like obviously like a lot of them like didn't really go anywhere. Like you'll get some phone numbers and you'll text them, and like it doesn't really go anywhere. But when you're just approaching like new women every single day, yeah, eventually you'll get some dates here and there. I mean, obviously like none of them really turned into anything like serious, right? But that was 2 years ago. And now I'm in a position where I'm like, all right, I'm 20, like I work a lot, like I study a lot, like I'm not really in these social situations where I can like meet women, and like I've even tried to like go to the library like after class and like I don't know, and like maybe like try to cold approach some girls there, and it's just like I don't know, bro. It's definitely it's brutal out here for a young guy. Like I'm saying, like it's certainly not easy, right? Like I don't know what other way to describe that. So I don't know. Like I don't want to sit here and be a Debbie Downer and say life is kicking me in the butt, because truly, like I'm very fortunate. Like like my worst day, like my worst day, say for example, like it's probably there are people that are a lot worse off than me, and I completely understand that, and I'm extremely grateful for her, to have everything that I currently have in my life and to be in my current situation. Hang on, I'm gonna get some water. I'll be back. Hey, I've been talking for a while. But yeah, it's definitely hard today as a young guy. Like, it's objectively not easy. Like that's true. So yeah, I'm kind of at like a roadblock here because obviously, like the past kind of month, I've kind of been, I wouldn't say sad, but like I didn't really want to, like I didn't really want to post a lot or like talk to many people because I was kind of like upset. I was just kind of trying my own business. And I was even debating, like, do I even make another YouTube video and like talk about what's even happening? Like, is that even like a good look at all? I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling a lot better now, and I have a lot of other things that I'm pretty much worried about. But it's just kind of like like you're at a roadblock here where it's just like, do you go all in on content creation and trying to build the brand, and like kind of violating your own privacy, right? To try to monetize and get some sort of respect, but at the same time like you risk obviously that puts a lot on your professional reputation, right? Like puts a lot on your professional reputation. You're violating your own privacy, and even like for example like I hate to say it like this, but for example, like Charlie Kirk, like 6 months ago in September, like he got assassinated, right, for being a big political influencer, right? So it's like, all right, yeah, do you become a YouTuber and get to 100,000 subscribers? Because I'm at like 700 on YouTube right now, and I've had my VA like upload some YouTube shorts of me, and they've gotten decent views. So I'm just like, yeah, like if I objectively like made content every single day and ran clipping pages, could I objectively grow to like 100,000, quarter million followers on social media if I really tried to it? And can I maybe make money monetizing from that? Absolutely, yes, I can do that. But at the same time, it's just like I don't know, like do you walk around campus or do you worry about going to Walmart? Like like seeing some person that has beef with you. Like I don't know, because like as you've seen it, like literally, I got kicked out of my paramedic class, like removed from my paramedic class, because I irritated someone on the internet, right? So it's a dangerous game, certainly. So I'm just trying to think about like what do I do, right? But like I'm not a coward, like I don't quit. So for like even for a second in the back of my mind, when I got kicked out of the paramedic class, the first question I asked is when does the next one start? That's literally the first question I asked, right? Because like I'm not gonna quit. Like I'm not a quitter. I'm not a coward, right? Like I'm a fighter, right? That's just who I am. Like, I'm not a coward. I don't quit. I stick to my word. That's what I do. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of really weary on how to advance. Like I think like I need to make like what is it? Like a lot of like content strictly related to like business or medical stuff. Like the courses that I sell. Like just keeping it really professional, like a lot of people do, right? And if I do, make like a long form video like this, I keep it like really professional. Like if you notice, I don't think I've said a single curse word in this entire video. I don't think I've said anything disrespectful in this entire video. I'm trying to, be very careful about the things that I say because like I'm gonna upload this to YouTube or like my Rumble channel, and it's gonna get clipped up and it's gonna get posted to YouTube, right? It's gonna get posted to Instagram. So I mean, and here's the thing: it's like I'm telling you this now. Like I'm like, all right, yeah, there might be a future 10 years from now where Chase Parker has 1 million followers on social media. I don't know. And a lot of this content that I'm making now, people are gonna look at these videos and be like, oh yeah, this one when he was like on the come up. So I don't know. I really like. I'm trying to change my approach going further. I have like 2 agency ideas that I want to work on, right? Which I'm gonna make. I'm gonna make a lot more content, like explaining my offer, because you got to make content about your business in order to sell to people like you do. Like you can't just run a page, no name, no face, DMing people, running people around, trying to get people to buy your high ticket program. It's just not going to work. And also the same thing if I want to, it's like sell a paid Discord chat or, try to even make 30 grand a month, like being a medical content creator or, like say I create, a paid Discord chat that I charge $30 a month, and 1,000 people a month subscribe to it because I have like 100,000 subscribers or whatever. Like if you want to be that guy, like you got to be making content. Like you can't just hide behind a face and just be some random dude on the internet because no one's gonna trust you. And even vice versa, it's just like if you are in a position where like you're a guy like me where you work a lot, like you're not putting yourself in these social situations unless you're making content and like you're being seen as like a real person on social media, like a lot of women aren't even going to feel comfortable talking to you, right? Because if you just like like message a girl on Snapchat or Instagram from like an account and you have like no post up, like it's just really creepy. You're gonna get blocked. But like if you're known to be that guy around your area, like the local content creator, it becomes a lot easier to like break that break that barrier. Like I've even had a couple guys from my university that I didn't even know that and obviously, like I'm very like I'm a nano influencer, bro. Like I've tried to be an influencer, like I've tried to make some videos. I've never really been that serious about it, and like I'm a nano influencer, bro. I got like 700 subscribers on YouTube. You know, like just my people on Instagram, and mainly like my people in my hometown. Like I'm nano, bro. People from my hometown, from my college, and I don't know. Like I just said, like what was it? This is also like 2 weeks ago. I had like 3 dudes from my university that followed me on Instagram. Which like, yo, bro, like I've seen some of your YouTube videos, I've seen some of your clips. Like I really like the content, and I was like, thank you. And obviously, like I didn't really, want to engage with anything. Because, I was dealing with all this other stuff. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. But it's just like, yeah, like if you want to, be respected by men online, and like you want to even like have like a dating life, and you're not in a position where you can cold approach women, like Like you got to be making content on the internet. You got to be on social media. I wouldn't even necessarily be on like the dating apps. But it's just like, yeah, like if you want to, build a business online, you want to monetize things, you want to even have a chance of, living in a world where you don't have to, like just only have to work a job, right? And also, if you're a young guy, if you want to be respected by other men for your competency, and you want to even have women that will like actually, be willing to even like show up and meet you in person without thinking you're some creepy guy that's going to kill them, like you need to be making content, right? But also the vice versa of that is if you do become a big time content creator and you are getting views, like yes, like there are just going to be some people that like might get rubbed the wrong way by something that you say that are going to be just absolutely dedicated to just destroy your life, right? They're going to like try to find out where you work, where you go to school, and those are try to ruin your life because they think it's funny, right? They think it's funny, and like for example, like I don't want to, like I don't like obviously like I literally just talked about not wanting to get too much into the politics. But a year ago I was just like, yeah, like Trump's in, he's the man, Bitcoin's going to the moon, the conservatives are back in charge. And I think you know, how do I say this in a just a lot of people that are really like leftward leaning and like really liberal, right? I would even put it a political spectrum on it. But like we've all had, that like that guy in like high school. Like we all know that guy in high school, right? That like that doesn't really have any friends, that doesn't really talk to anyone, that doesn't really play sport, and that's not bad in and of itself. Like I was kind of, like when I was in high school, like the past like like 2 or 3 years I was in high school, I was kind of a quiet, reserved guy. Like this was after like I quit sports. Like, I didn't really talk to anyone. I wasn't really interested in having conversations. But I wasn't like like that, the kind of like that weird, creepy guy. Like like I like knew people. Like, I still talk to people. But like I'm just saying, like like kind of like the socially awkward guy that like a lot of these guys, like they're just like basement dwellers. Like they don't really do anything besides play video games. They don't really have like much life experience. Like if you are trying to be an extremely masculine, like, influencer, or like you're telling people to take accountability, you're making, like make money content, you're talking about business, there's always going to be, that guy that, is that basement dweller that like he's never really had a girlfriend, he doesn't really understand women, he doesn't really understand the world, that's going to literally comment from some fake account, and just literally get upset about everything that you say, right? And try to destroy your life. It's just gonna happen. It happened to me, right? I'm not, sitting here and saying that, I regret what I did. Like, maybe perhaps I need to, like kind of what I told you, like you don't need to be engaging in any of this online internet content, right? Like unless someone is getting on a sales call to like pay you money, or maybe they're talking in a very like respectful way, like there's no need for you to respond to people, bro. Like I used to think it was kind of funny, like trolling people, like sending them the McDonald's job application and whatever. But it's just like, bro, there's no benefit to this. And if you are, trying to be that guy where like you're being a masculine influencer, you're telling men on like how to actually date women from a guy that like you have relationship experiences and you've gotten broken up with and you've learned lessons the hard way, and you're trying to make content for like other men, like being like, don't make this mistake that I did, or like you're making business money content or even like medical content like I want to do with my career. Like there's always just going to be some guy that some person that just hates your guts, bro. Like I don't know what it is. Like it's like bro, like I've tried clipping and like bro, like I've tried clipping. Like I've had a VA, like edit videos like this of me and like post it, And like I told you, you need to do that in order to necessarily get all of the good things that come with social media content creation, like having a good dating life, having other men that respect you, possibly monetizing it, possibly being able to get out of having a job. you need to be making content. But at the same time, vice versa, there's always, an equal and opposite, amount of bad that comes with any good that you receive. So if you want to receive all these good things, there's going to be bad that comes with it. Isn't that that's Newton's third law of motion? Every force has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So I'm in a physics class, right? So it's like, bro, like say for example, if I hit on my hand, we'll say 100 newtons of force, right? My hand absorbs negative 100 newtons of force because it absorbs the force, right? So it's equal and opposite, and that's kind of how the world works, like I understand like my life isn't like gonna be easy. Like I know that I have a lot of lessons to learn the hard way, and I'm completely prepared for that because I know it's going to make me a better man and make me a better character. But I mean, I don't know. Life is hard, bro. It's just like you try to invest your money in Bitcoin, it has like a 30% drawdown. You lose like 10 grand. You know, like like you try to go to school and you make content and you like slip up, which just has to do with inexperience. Like I'll get better, but and like dating is hard. Like it's not easy to be a young man. Like it's never been easy, right? That's why I got the American flag behind me because I've been very interested in like watching like a lot of like World War II videos, and it'll basically be like a YouTube video where it's like like an AI voice and it has AI images, and it's basically like a story of like saying like for example the opinions of British citizens when France surrendered to Germany in 1940 or whatever, right? And like I'm listening to all these World War II story times, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? Like I told you earlier, I'm a 20-year-old dude from Clayton, North Carolina. I'm a redneck. Everyone I know that I've went to school with is a redneck, and we're all broke and we're all poor, and that's why when I like made the video about getting 100 grand when I was 19, it was a big deal because it was a big deal to a lot of me and my friends, right? But on paper, you're just an average dude from an average town that maybe worked up hard and did well for himself. Like, bro, if you were alive 100 years ago, not 100 years ago, 80 years ago, you would have just been sent to the Normandy beaches to die and run at German artillery to try to liberate a country that's going to kick you out after you save it. I know I'm being political, but like I shouldn't say these things, but that's how the world works. As a young guy, like you're not important. You don't have any tangible value. Like, you're not a woman where you have the ability to, like create children. So, you're tangibly seen as valuable for having that ability. Like you're a man. Like you're a young guy, you're broke, it's hard to make money, like you have to learn lessons the hard way. It's hard to get a girlfriend. Like it's not easy. And perhaps this has been perhaps one of the best times to be alive as a young guy, right? Because like for example, you were alive 100 years ago, you would have been sent to northern France in the trenches in World War I, where would have been living in a trench. I mean, perhaps if you didn't get septic and die, you would have lived. But I mean, it's like World War I, like it's like 50% casualty rates. You're alive 80 years ago, you're going to the beaches of Normandy, you're getting shot at. Like you're alive 50 years ago, you're getting drafted into the Vietnam War, like my grandpa did. You're going over to Vietnam, basically just getting into a guerrilla war that you're just going to get withdrawn from anyway, and like the whole thing. I can't talk about this stuff. I can't talk about my political opinions, but it's just like, if you were alive in any history ever as a man ever, like like average guy, like you would have just been sent to some trench to die. Like I mean, my grandpa, like my grandfather, he passed away in November of 2024. I loved him to death. He was like 80 years old, but like when he was my age, he got drafted to go to the Vietnam War, and he was in Vietnam for like 3 years or something like that. And there was this chemical that they sprayed in like Vietnam. I think it was, I don't know if it was like the U.S. military or whoever was doing it. They sprayed this chemical called like Agent Orange or whatever, like all over Vietnam. And a lot of the soldiers actually got that. and they found out, it was leading to different types of cancer. So anyway, like when I was really little, my grandpa got diagnosed with like cancer or whatever, and they found out it was because of the Agent Orange chemicals that were involved in the Vietnam War. So like my entire life, like my grandpa, he was kind of having like a downhill battle and like just constantly like getting more sick up until the point when he died when I was 19. But it's kind of just like yeah, like if you were born as in any other history ever as a man, like it would have never been good. Like you would have never had the opportunity to do this, streaming on Kick, like selling WAP courses, like creating an e-commerce store, creating a logistics company, starting, your own enterprise where you sell stuff on Amazon like I do. Like these things would have never been available to you. Like you would just been sent to some ditch to die. And that's what the reality it's always been for a man. Like same thing if you were alive in the 1800s. Like if you're in America, you would have been in the Civil War. If you're in Europe, you would have been, part of Napoleon's invasions, which I don't really even know much about, but I know that was in the 1800s. And then it's never been good to be a man ever, right? And I get that, there's this big like feminist like movement, and yeah, it's definitely sad because like as I mentioned, like like a lot of young guys, like they're not really emotionally intelligent. They don't have much life experience. They don't really know how to act. They certainly don't have like a lot of experience with women. They're not really good with respecting boundaries. Like as I mentioned that previous example where I got in trouble and I got like kicked out of my class for just doing something that's stupid, right? Which like I have never like I've cold approached a bunch of girls and I've dated a bunch of girls and I've gone on dates with a bunch of girls, but like I've never like raped or sexually assaulted anyone. Like I've never done that. Like I've never like been in a situation where a girl told me like, yeah, I have a boyfriend, or like I can obviously tell where she looks uncomfortable, and I like I always backed away in that situation, right? Because when you are cold approaching women and you're talking to a lot of women, like yes, you'll be in certain situations where you can tell like she's never really been cold approached by a guy before, and like you're over here like saying something like, hey, I think you're really beautiful, I think you're really pretty, and like just some women like have just never they never been like had a guy walk up to them and tell them that. So you can obviously tell like they're visibly uncomfortable. And in that situation, I just say like have a nice day, and then I walk away. Or she's like, I have a boyfriend, I don't want to give you my phone number. It's like, all right, he must be a very lucky guy. Have a nice day. Because I'm very good at what's it? What's the word for that? Like spatial awareness. Like and I feel like that's why I've been I was doing so well in my paramedic class, and why like I'm completely dedicated to being in medicine for a career, because you get very good at talking to people. You get very good at like reading rooms, right? And like a lot of young guys, just really don't have that experience. So yeah, unfortunately, the statistical reality is like there are a lot of like rapes and sexual assaults committed by young men that just go unreported more often than not, right? And yeah, obviously, like I've never done that, right? But I understand that it happens. Like I've heard stories from like other girls or like women that I know where they've told me like a boyfriend or like something happened to them, and yeah, it's sad. Like it's genuinely sad, right? So I know, like, yeah, like it is difficult to be women, because it is difficult to be a woman, because, like, like I told you, like I'm over here literally just trying to approach girls to, like find a serious relationship and like have a normal relationship that can possibly, turn into like a wife or whatever. Like that's my objective, right? But the average woman, like, is just like this random guy is cold approaching me. I don't know him. Like I get why it's scary, and that's why that's why it goes back to being earlier. Like you need to kind of be known. You need to already be known. And that's why it's good if you can meet, like a lot of relationships start through like mutual friends, because there's kind of already, like that guard is kind of lowered a little bit in that situation. But yeah, it's certainly difficult. like I understand the feminist movement totally, but vice versa, say for example, I don't know what the statistics are, but I don't know, say if maybe 10% of men commit sexual crimes in their life. I don't know what the statistics are. I have no idea. But say if it's 10%, right? And that means 90% of men, have never done that, right? Which is still 9 out of every 10 men, and I'm one of them, right? But unfortunately, when you're trying to cold approach women and you're trying to go on dates, like the 90% of men are, having to pay the price and are having to, be extra careful about the way they go about things to, not make a girl feel uncomfortable because of the 10% that are like doing and committing these crimes, right? So that's how the world works. But yeah, so for the average man, right? Your life is hard, and if you were born in any other time ever, like you would have just been sent to some trench and died. Like our generation, like what do we have? We had like the coronavirus, like when we were in high school, and we got locked in our houses and we couldn't play sports and see our friends, and it was like kind of sad, and like all of us were like kind of depressed. I mean, that was kind of the worst that we had to deal with, right? And that was like 6 years ago now, 5, 6 years ago. We had to do like online school, and it kind of sucked at the time, but now it's just kind of like whatever. It's like a thing in the past. Like I don't really think about the COVID pandemic or like the lockdown. Like I remember it, but I'm not waking up now every single day and saying, like, "Oh yeah, that ruined my life," and I was sad 6 years ago. So like I like that never happened. So I'm not like I never wake up and say, you know what? Oh yeah, I was sad about COVID because I got locked in my house for like a year when I was like 15 years old, and now I don't want to do anything with my life. Like I never think about that ever. So so yeah. So maybe perhaps this is the best time to be alive if you're a man, and it's certainly never been easy. That's for sure. And I don't think you should expect to walk through the world asking for an easy life. I think you should say, you know what, like my life is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to learn lessons the hard way. But you know what? That is just God trying to turn me into a better man, and He's going to help me learn from the situation and make me a better person, so I'm able to approach future situations better, right? That's kind of the mental model that I think you need to operate from. Because if you sit here and you say like, "Oh, I'm a loser," like it's hard, you kind of go down like the black pill route, which black pill is another thing in and of itself. Black pill is kind of just like nihilism, like like nothing really matters, like there are so many fixed outcomes, you can't do anything to change your life. I don't know. That's kind of like that's like kind of like a detrimental, kind of like bad mental frame to like operate from. I feel like. So yeah, it's certainly not easy to be a young guy. And that's kind of what's been going on with me in 2026. So yeah, it feels good to make this video. I mean, this will be a lot of clipping content. This is already like an hour and 3 minutes. An hour and 3 minutes, yeah. Yeah, I think I need to make more content, especially related to my business offer and what I want to do, and I need to do it more professionally. And like, here's the thing, like, bro, like you probably remember where you were 2 years ago. Like, I think we all kind of remember where we were 2 years ago. We can vividly say like, oh yeah, I remember like I was friends with whoever. I was maybe talking to this girl, or I was doing this. This is kind of what my daily habit looked like. Like we can all kind of remember what we were up to 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago was March of 2024, right? Like like I remember it clear as day, right? Like that's 2 years. And here's the thing: another 2 years will go by, whether you like it or not, and it'll go by relatively quickly. And obviously, like that's like say what's 365 times two? That's like 730 days or whatever. And yeah, it is a lot of days, and they'll go by, and the world will kind of go on. The world just kind of goes on. Like the sun's not going to stop rolling around just because you had a bad week or whatever. Like the world's going to go on. People are going to go back to work, and the world's just going to kind of continue, whether or not you're sad or you're happy, or like the world is just kind of going to go on, and another 2 years will go by whether you like it or not. So obviously I'm extremely frustrated that like I couldn't become a 20-year-old paramedic because, I got kicked out because I got in trouble. But, it's like, all right, I'm just going to try the class again and I'll become a paramedic when I'm 22, right? And during that meantime, during that 2-year gap, yeah, maybe perhaps like the bitterness is going to stay in my mouth for a little bit and I'm going to be upset about it for a little bit. But, I still have things I need to do. Like, like you have to finish your coursework. You have to graduate from university. You still have to, like try to go to the gym. You still have to try to meet people. You still have to, try to have normal relationships. You need to try to work a job. You need to try other income sources. And then let's say 2 years will go by. And, 2 years will go by. And then sure, you'll do the paramedic class again. And you'll pass it. And you'll be a paramedic when you're 22 instead of 20. Who cares? You already know the entire curriculum. That version of you will be better if you decide to, take action instead of just, being sad about what happened, right? It's like, yeah, 2 years will go by. I'll be graduated from university. I will have already applied to medical school. I'll take my MCAT. I'll still have a full-time job. I can work on some of my other income sources as well. I can cold approach more women. I can go on more dates. Maybe perhaps, I'll be in that serious relationship. Maybe perhaps, I was talking about earlier, right? Like a healthy, serious relationship. And, and then life kind of just goes on. 2 years will go by, whether you decide to take action or not. So, that's kind of the mental model that I've been operating from. But yeah, that's just kind of what I've been thinking about my life lately. Another thing that I've been thinking about is bad things happen to good people all the time, right? And obviously, I genuinely believe that I deserve what happened to me. So that's why I'm not upset because I think if I deserve to make $10,000 a month while being a full-time university student, God would have given it to me, right? God would have given it to me, and I believe that God only gives you things that you're perhaps ready for, and perhaps if God doesn't give you something, then maybe perhaps you're not ready for it. So that's kind of what I believe. But bad and unfortunate things happen to good people every single day. Like, for example, my best friend, about a year ago, his father died, right? And he's young. When it happened, he was 20 years old, and his father passed away. And I asked him the other day. I said, "Do you ever still think about like your dad passing away? Do you still think about it? Like, are you still upset about it every single day?" Because it was about a year ago. He doesn't really talk about it to me, so I haven't really asked him about it because I'm busy doing my own life. I'm talking to him about other things because he's my friend. But I'm not asking him about his dad every single day. I asked him about it a few times. He's always like, "Yeah, I'm trying to do better." And he kind of told me, he's like, "I'm upset about my father every single day, but I don't really talk about it, and I just try to keep myself busy because there's absolutely nothing I can do about it." And that's kind of how the world works. Obviously, getting kicked out of school and then just, having to, do the class again that you've already learned, right? Like, you're literally doing the exact same test and hours that you've already passed. You're truthfully just inconvenienced. You're not incompetent. You just got professionally checked when you were young and you're having to learn the lesson the hard way. Right? So, that's kind of just 2 years of your life is going to go by whether you like it or not. So, you need to choose, you need to spend that time, doing things that are going to keep you occupied because, if you just kind of sit in your bubble and, just think about the situation or you try to stay upset about it, that is a terrible mental model to operate from and you're never going to really, be able to grow into a better person from it. And that's just kind of how the world works, right? And I guess another thing that I kind of wanted to mention, I've been talking for a really long time. I gotta get some more water, I'm sorry. So I remember December 2024, I made the video about how to get your first $100 grand. I was like a teenager or whatever. I'm gonna fix my hair. My hair's like really curly, so I have to put like water and like curling cream in it, or else it looks like really dry. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Does that look a little bit better, bro? Trying to look smacks for real. But in December 2024, I made a video about how to get your first 100 grand as like a teenager. It was basically like a video of me, going over, like a bunch of videos on how to hustle and like different income sources. And like there are all these things that you can do. I mean, like literally, like if you're a 20-year-old guy, you can literally make $500 a month donating plasma. You can make another $300 a month doing random bank bonuses. You can do DoorDash, and you can easily have like a part-time job, and you can apply for food stamps. And if you have like a buddy to live with, you can pretty much make like 2 to 3 grand a month easily, like not really working that hard, right? Easily, right? Because it's just the world that we live in. It just is. So I made this video of me talking about all these different ways on like how to hustle. And a year has gone by, because what I've kind of learned is it's not about how much money you have, it's about your income, right? So like, yeah, if you're a guy and you've been working really hard the past couple of years and you save 100 grand, but you're still making like $3,000 or $4,000 a month, like that's really not that good. Like, I mean, it's about, I feel like income is more important than how much money you have, because obviously, like your income is directly correlated to how much you're able to save, right? So, I was really aggressive. I spent in the past year over like $20,000 on like coaching programs and like, trying to learn different ways, like start business and like do agency, which is why I'm now talking about how I want to get busy with that, because I've learned a lot. I just haven't really, took action on it because, I've been going to school, I've been working, and I was doing the paramedic class, which, I got kicked out of, and I'm going to have to re-go and do again. So, like I spent a lot of money on, like coaching programs, doing unpaid clinicals, like learning, going to school. So I'm about kind of at the same place financially now that I was, a year and 3 months ago, right? I probably even have, maybe a little bit less money now because I got a personal loan, I got like some debt or whatever, right? So yeah, because I remember like a year ago, I was like, Trump's in charge. Like I'm gonna be in my 20s, like Bitcoin's going to the moon. We're all gonna get rich. And it's just like, nah, bro. Bitcoin's not gonna save you. The administration is not gonna save you. The only thing is gonna save you yourself doing the work all by yourself off of your own back. That's the only thing that's gonna save you, bro. No magic woman or girlfriend is going to come into your life and fix your life and make you want to start going to the gym and, make you want to start trying harder in your life. You have to do it all by yourself. And another thing is, if you fail and if you mess up, it is still your fault. Don't be out here blaming the Matrix or, blaming your friends or blaming other people. Like, you can't operate from that mental model, bro. But anyway, so like I spent a lot of money, like learning, coaching offers, doing these unpaid clinicals. So I'm kind of, in the exact same place financially that I was a year ago. And although I've learned a lot and, I've probably increased my future trajectory, obviously, I still kind of feel like dang, that kind of sucks. Like, it's been a year and I haven't made any progress necessarily financially. But I did learn a lot. And I'm just kind of like, am I a loser? Like, am I a loser? It's just like, you spend a lot of money. You're kind of in the exact same place you are a year ago. And, you learned the entire paramedic program. And then you got kicked out. Like, am I a loser? Like, if 2 years goes on and, I finished the paramedic training and I actually implement, a lot of, the material that I've learned, and I create a successful agency, and I'm making 10 grand a month, and then I finish my paramedic training, and then maybe like, like I'm making medical content, like I'm in med school somewhere, then yeah, like all of this would have been worth it. But just in the short time, it like kind of sucks. Like another thing that I would say is like, but I don't know, just the way that I look at it is like if you're a guy and you're like, and you have 100 grand in your bank account, which is really good. But like a year ago is when I kind of like, I started really living a lot more on my own, right? Like, like basically like, like you're paying your car insurance, like you have a car payment, like, you have to buy food, you have to buy gas because you're like, you're getting older, right? Like you're not really, a lot of people, you're not able to ask your parents, to pay for all your stuff, right? A lot of people aren't in that position. So I kind of just learned, and it's just like, bro, like literally, if you have rent, car insurance, a car payment, you need to buy basic necessities. What is it? You have virtual assistants that you have that, you do business stuff with that you have to send money to, and you have like software subscriptions. Like for a lot of this e-commerce stuff that I do, you have to have subscriptions that you have to pay for, and then you're also, trying to save, like set aside $1,000 at the end of the month just to even have for yourself. Even if you live in the crappiest apartment, say $700 a month, car insurance, car payment, that's another $300 a month. Basic necessities, that's another $500 a month. Virtual assistant, if you have one, maybe at $500 a month. So maybe altogether, like, just to even live on your own by yourself, you need about $2,000 to $3,000 a month at minimum to even, just have a decent lifestyle. What's my computer at? Oh, my computer's at 10%. But it's just like, yeah, like, like you need to be making at least like, close to $1,000 a week to, kind of even be staying up on your feet. So that's kind of when I learned like a year ago. I was like, yeah, you're 19, you have 100 grand in savings. You've been saving, you've been a hustler ever since you were in high school. But it's just like, it really doesn't go that far, bro. So it's just like, wouldn't it, in my opinion, which obviously, like I'm not a millionaire yet by any means, but it's just like, if you're a young guy, like instead of being that guy, where you're 19, maybe you have 100 grand saved and you make $1,000 a week, like you're doing really good. Yeah. But wouldn't it make sense, trying to spend like some of your current money to try to, increase your income instead of just trying to save it more? Like, I don't know, maybe like, I'm younger, so I can be a bit more aggressive, right? But, like I don't know. Like in my opinion, I looked at it like, okay, I would rather spend money trying to learn skills to increase my income than, just sit on a bunch of cash and, just work like a job that, doesn't really pay much and just trying to build up the pot. Because then if you do that, you get eat away by inflation over time. Even the same thing is, even if I had 100 grand, I had a couple people suggesting to me like, oh yeah, like you're a young guy, you should put a down payment on a house. And I don't really even like that idea because it's just like, bro, like I don't know where I'm going to be 3 years from now. I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now. Like literally at Christmas, I was telling my family if I could get a job being a paramedic on an oil rig in Alaska, because I've seen jobs like that pay like $1,000 a day, like literally FU money immediately. I'm going to go there, right? I'll go where the money is. Right. And also another thing is if I do go to medical school or I go to graduate school, like I might not be able to get into the school in North Carolina that I want. I don't know. The application process is difficult. So if I get accepted to some school in Oklahoma or Texas, why does it make sense for me to be paying a mortgage like in Raleigh, North Carolina? Like it really doesn't make sense. So, I mean, you can look into alternative investments. Like, you try Bitcoin, you try trading algorithms that you just seen, like those are very, there's a lot of risk involved with that. You could lose your money as well. So the game is difficult, right? It's certainly not easy, and like kind of what I told you, like you need to try, fail, you need to hit your head up against the wall, and you just need to like get back up and keep trying. But yeah, like I don't know. In my opinion, like I would rather, if I was in a situation again where I had 100 grand, you said, all right, you can keep working your job only and try to make $1,000 a week. Like I would much rather, try to risk, say, half of that money, 50 grand of it, buying coaching offers, like messing around with investments, maybe trying to learn skills or like build up systems where, I can make over 10 grand a month, right? Like I feel like that would be much better to do. And even so, like in December when I didn't have school, I was working two jobs. So in December, I made 10 grand. Like I think I barely skimmed it, right? I think when I counted, I was like 9,500, right? Which you can just round to 10 grand because like I was working two jobs and I was working every single day. So between both like the jobs, I made like 6 grand in 1 month working as a medical technician. And, it was December, so e-commerce had a busy month. So I made like another 2 grand in December, and my trading algorithms made like 1K, and I made another $500 like donating plasma because I found out about plasma donations. So it's just like, yeah, when I was working every single day, like like I can make 10 grand a month at 20 years old, but now it's just like, yeah, if like you're in school, you're not able to work every day, it becomes a lot tougher. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of what's up in 2026. This has kind of been like a long stream. It's been an hour and nearly 30 minutes. So, I don't know. It feels good to make a type of video like this. It feels good to, talk about things. And, I've tried my very best to keep it professional. So, I'll have to do this more often, especially if I need to if I want to start a business. But yeah, I'll see you folks later. Have a good night. All right.